Hello there, it's Jason from the Weather Window, and I bring you a little video this evening just to keep you up to date with what's happening with the weather story. And I think it's quite an exciting weather story just now. I think the models have been flirting with the idea that we're going to get a little early hit of winter. They certainly did last week, and the GFS was really up and running for a cold snap this week, which the media picked up on, predicting 5 days of snow this week. And of course, it's actually very mild this week. But I'm going to bring you a very consistent weather story that is appearing, and I've tracked it over. It began on Sunday, but it's been pretty consistent since Sunday. That we're going to get a hit of northerlies this weekend, and it's going to dramatically change the feel of the weather. And although nothing overly dramatically cold, something that's much more akin to what we would normally expect at the end of November. And I would suspect that's going to feel really chilly because temperatures are, at the moment, the last few days have been between 5 and 7 degrees above the average. It's been pretty mild indeed. So we're all going to see a big change this weekend. I think high pressure is going to hang about, and I think the predominant weather type is going to be dry, especially down south. I think it's going to be clearer and colder, quite nice actually, quite seasonal for many parts of the country, and especially in Scotland where it's pretty cloudy at the moment. We're not really able to enjoy the high pressure because frontal systems are just kind of grazing in around the top of it. Most models are definitely going for this northerly. All models are going for this northerly. So I think we can be fairly confident about that. And as I say, nothing overly dramatic, but certainly quite a cool down in what we've been having recently. And I think certainly we'll have frost and there could be some wintry showers, especially in the hills, but nothing dramatic, no widespread snow. Don't look the sledge out yet, but I would suggest look out the winter clothing because it's going to become quite chilly. But what's really interesting is following next week's weather, there are quite a lot of indications, again, raising confidence. I know when it's 10 days out, we always have to be a wee bit careful. But another hit of northerlies coming down, and this tapping is potentially into some Arctic air and something much colder later on in November, possibly into December. So that's the story, really, in summary. And I'm going to show you lots of data. Let's start off, as we always do, by looking at the satellite picture. And this is from 6 o'clock this evening. And you can see a frontal system draped from the east of Scotland and running down into northwest England and down into the southwest with some clearer, showery weather coming in behind. I'll just show you the radar picture for this evening. You can see the band of rain's really fizzled out as it's pushing south and east, but you can see some pretty lively showers coming into Scotland. And I just wonder if we put the precipitation type on, yeah, you can see some pink and green there in the hill. So showing you that the showers are turning wintry over the mountaintops. And it's not going to last too long, that. Certainly tonight and tomorrow, there could be some snow for the Highlands, for example, but probably turning back to rain again by this time tomorrow evening. So all change once again. What I'm going to do is just show you some data. This is quite exciting. So we're looking at Glasgow here, and this is looking at the air mass temperatures at 850 hectopascals. So it's about a mile up in the air, and it just clears any kind of diurnal variation, like cooling at night, warming with day and sun, gives us a better indication of the air mass, what the temperatures are going to feel like. So you can see at the moment, they're fairly cool. They're going to dip down to like -5 tonight, and that's why there'll be some snow in the hills, maybe a little touch of frost for parts of sheltered Scotland this evening. But look at that increase in temperature. It's going to become mild on Thursday and on Friday, quite mild indeed. Temperatures reaching 5 and 850 HPA. So what we're looking at is 12s, 13s, 14s on the ground, maybe as high as 15 in parts of the south. But notice that dip in the temperatures as we go through the weekend, bring it down to -5. Now, -5 is the critical level. -5 is regarded as the kind of snow level. If it's possible to get snow, we should be at least -5 or lower. But look at all the runs, actually, if we take you further into the sequence. They're actually dipping down. There's one or two that are dipping down as low as -15. Now, they are outliers. That would be like a beast from the east type scenario. It's very unlikely to verify, but you can see generally that the white line, the mean of the ensemble, is well below the red line, which is the average temperature for this time of year. So it should be about 0 degrees a mile up in the atmosphere, late stages of November and heading into December. What you can see clearly is that white line, once it dips below at the weekend, it stays below average for the remainder going into early December. Very interesting. What does that look like on the ground? So this is for Glasgow, bear in mind. Here are your 2 meter temperatures, and you can see at the moment, it's fairly mild, reasonably mild. It's going to become much milder, 12s, 13s possible Thursday and Friday. Then we have that drop off in the temperature at the weekend, and you can see it there. The white line is the mean, it's the average of all the ensemble data, and you can see how close to zero that is on many occasions. Around about the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, the maximum temperatures there are predicted to be about 2 or 3 degrees for Glasgow. I suggest further south it might be about 5 or 6 degrees. So between 2 and 3 degrees and 6 degrees is what we're playing with. Not a severe cold snap, of course, but we will notice it. And there may even be some wintry weather. Actually, just to show you that here, this is the snow row, and each spike represents just a member of the ensemble that are suggesting that there could be some snow. And notice for Glasgow, it's not a guarantee of snow, and I'm not saying it's going to be snowy and white everywhere, not at all, not at this stage. It's far too early to say. It's just a heads up, really, this video. But you can see there's some big spikes there. One or two of the ensemble members are suggesting there could be 14 centimetres of snow. Very unlikely to verify, but it's just interesting that they are suddenly coming together and showing that not only is it going to get colder, but there's a chance of some wintry precipitation. What's the pressure looking like in Glasgow? Well, you can see that basically we're going to raise the pressure a little bit, higher pressure, as we run into the weekend. We are under an area of high pressure. It's a little bit unbelievable if you live in Scotland because it's been quite windy and wet here today, but it's just frontal systems grazing in over the top of it. But pressure does increase. You can see the mean going up to about 130 millibars, which is a pretty significant area of high pressure. And we never really go into low pressure, even at the beginning of December, they are staying around 1010 millibars, which is reasonably high pressure, especially for December. There is no doubt about that. Okay, so what we're going to show you next, I'd like to show you this sort of feature I always use, and it's a cloud, it's the pressure, and it's the temperature. And let's just run through this little sequence and show you what's happening here. There's your area of high pressure there to the southwest at the moment. And it's going to pump in with a lot of mild Atlantic air over the next couple of days. And you can see that there with the lime green line pushing northwards, right into Scotland there. And high pressure hangs about a mild but moist southwesterly. So it's going to be quite unsettled for parts of Scotland, especially the west of Scotland. Whereas further south, you should have some dry conditions. And if you're lucky, a little bit of sunshine as well. Excuse me just a little moment. Sorry about that interruption there, Princess the dog just reacting to some noise outside. Or maybe it's the call of the cold weather and that's causing her to bark. Yes, what is happening by the weekend is that high pressure is reorientating and it's going up towards Greenland. And it's called retrogression. When that happens, it's quite interesting because as that high pressure there just pulls further north towards Greenland, then it allows a colder northerly flow to come down across the country with lower pressure generally to the east. Now you can see there the blue line coming into the north of Scotland, the 528 line, again that's regarded as the snow line, like -5 in the 850 hectopascal charts that I showed you earlier on for Glasgow. Let's just continue to run you through that sequence, hopefully. You can see northerlies continue to plunge down across the country on Sunday. So Sunday's definitely the changeover day. Scotland on Saturday, late on Saturday, but certainly Sunday for Scotland, we're into the northerlies. If you track the isobars far, then some of them are actually coming from the Arctic region. So it's a little taster perhaps of what's to come. Much cooler weather, and also quite clear. I would imagine you can see there's not much cloud cover, and when we get a northerly at this time of year, it's kind of weather that feels really crisp and beautifully seasonal. If you go out at night, you see the stars, and the atmosphere is really clean. There's low pollution, so my opinion, it's quite a nice spell of weather by the weekend as the high pressure takes over, ridges up to the north and the west of us. Look how it kind of topples down over the country again on Tuesday. So that's cutting off the cold feet of air. So that's a toppler, we call that. Introducing some northerlies before the high pressure settles back over the country, cutting off the cold supply. It's still going to feel rather chilly and crisp, I would imagine, with frost at night, but it should feel not too bad during the day, given there's going to be sunny skies for many parts of the country. But watch what happens here. Again, we see evidence of that high pressure pulling out west and moving up towards the northwest, moving up towards Greenland. And the only way really to sustain cold weather in the UK at winter is to have high pressure or a blocking feature to our north. And it certainly looks like that's what's going to happen here. It's way out. We're talking about a week's time from now already. So it's less reliable than our first northerly. However, it's shown up on many of the models and the model output fairly consistently. Let me run this on. So you can see there it's largely dry and sunny Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. With some frontal system coming in to the northwest next Wednesday and a low towards Iceland. But watch what happens to that low. It sinks south, it dives south. So it doesn't go from west to east like our normal zonal pattern. Something different's happening here. The jet stream is causing that to plunge southward. And if I keep running the sequence, you can see that actually what it's doing there is introducing a northeasterly flow. And if you follow the isobars back, it's coming from northern Scandinavia. Scotland affected first of all, but next weekend there's just a possibility that we get into some proper cool air. And right at the very end of the sequence, again, it's very unreliable. You can see a northerly flow with the possibility of some wintry weather. Okay, actually, I mean, if you want me to just tell you how I feel about this just now, I'll give you my impressions on this just now. Jason's weather window autumn forecast went for the weather changing in November, went for a very warm autumn, a very dry autumn, with lots of high pressure about as it's been. But I thought it was going to be some kind of switch over, some kind of change, possibly around mid-month or afterwards. And the seasonal forecast has suggested that might not be until the very end of November or beginning of December, but certainly we're seeing on track. So if the forecast verifies, I feel a wee bit more confident about my thoughts about December. And I think December holds cold spell potential. And while I'm not going to say it's going to snow at Christmas or anything ridiculous like that right now, I do think there is a chance of enhanced wintry conditions compared to normal and running up to Christmas and over the Christmas period too. So I'm not saying a white Christmas is far too early. I need to wait till about the 23rd of December before I firm up on that one. But certainly, I think December holds potential for some cold snaps with higher pressure to the north and lower pressure to the south. Very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting indeed. Okay, I'm going to show you this. This is the Met Office. This is going back to the short term again. I'm just tracking the rain. Probably it should be a bit there. Yeah, there we have it for 9 o'clock this evening. The rain fizzling out, showers coming into Scotland. The purple is indicating snow on the hills. This is the UK Met, and it's the high resolution model showing you cloud and precipitation there. You can see that tomorrow it's basically showery for the northwest with some snow on the hills, but good sunny spells further south and a lot of dry weather. Eastern Scotland, perhaps eastern Northern Ireland, certainly southern eastern parts of England, seeing quite a lot of dry weather there. Some quite beefy showers for parts of the north and west, and as I say, wintry over the high ground. I think some more general rain perhaps pushing in to southwest Scotland later on tomorrow and over Wednesday night. You can see that there. It's basically quite damp and dreary for my part of the world, certainly, and for much of Scotland. Best chance of any shelter of course, in the east, but this is a warm front and it's going to make it feel particularly mild on Thursday and Friday. You might not realise it in the west of Scotland where there's rain around, but you certainly realise it if it's dry and if we have clearer spells. And this chart's suggesting there could be some in the east there. So this is Thursday, and running into Friday, you can see that cold front beginning to come into the north. And if we just take the sequence on as far as it goes, there's Saturday. There's a cold front right across the country. Behind that cold front, obviously, it's colder. Still probably quite mild in the south, but as we run it towards the end, you can see the cold front does sink south. And you can see the showers are turning wintry, the kind of purpley colours there on Saturday evening. This is at 9 o'clock in the evening. Just taking you a wee bit further, more snow for the hills and frosty, I would imagine, behind that cold front. And that's us into the cold, quite clear conditions. Look, bags of sunshine there. There's not much cloud on that particular chart. So notice there a wee bit of snow even in the southeast of Scotland or the northeast of England. So it is becoming colder, much more seasonal, nothing extreme. But let's catch up with the story as we run later into the month. So this is the GFS, and it's from the Weather Online. And you can see the ridge of high pressure just now. And you can see that it's bringing in, it's bringing up a moist feed of air, a tropical maritime flow from the southwest. The air's coming from the Azores, and you really can't expect it to become quite mild or even rather warm for November over the next few days. But I'll quite quickly run you through this sequence because it's more what's happening a little bit later on that we're particularly interested in. Okay, there's a change there, I would say. So that's Saturday, and you can see the high pressure centred over England and Wales, but you can see it's trying to ridge westward, not eastward as it usually does. Watch it there. See it just building towards Iceland and moving up towards Greenland. That's a proper area of high pressure, proper block, and it's there the northerly winds then are feeding through the country this weekend. So we continue with those northerly winds into the early stages of next week. The high pressures we've established then kind of topples in over the country, and it cuts off the coldest of the air, but still rather chilly, especially in the east of Scotland and England there. But watch what happens again. The high pressure want to go west, want to go northwest up towards Greenland. In fact, the pressure there is predicted to be at 1,075 millibars. That's a phenomenally high pressure. That's what we call a blocking feature. It is quite difficult to move that once it becomes established. It really is quite a significant weather pattern. For example, when we had the really cold December 2010, it was all because of a big, huge blocking area of high pressure over Greenland. I'm not suggesting that that's going to repeat itself, but just saying, it's looking very, very interesting indeed. Let's follow on a wee bit further, and you can see that as the high pressure ridges to the west up towards Greenland, it really brings the wind down from the north over the UK. So you can see that there's a wee low pressure dipping down. See the blue colours there. That's the low pressure sinking south. So it's an unusual weather pattern. We've got high pressure going north and it's driving low pressure south. So we've lost our Atlantic flow there. So that in itself is quite significant. And if I just take this, tap it on a wee bit further, you can see there, 27th of November, still got that northerly flow, follow the isobars back. I'm not saying this is going to verify, it probably won't, but this chart is showing that the winds are coming directly from the Arctic by the end of November. I'm just going to knock it on a wee bit further. 28th, we've still got northerly winds there. Low pressure to the east, so I would suggest that would be wintry showers, especially for the east and for the hills. High pressure is still to the west and to the north. And there, on the 29th of November, we're bringing another low pressure down south. It's sinking down through the North Sea, going southwards again, which can only mean that we're going to introduce another northerly flow and possibly even cooler conditions there. And that's us on the 1st of December, first day of meteorological winter. High pressure is still to the west of us, ridging up towards Greenland, and we're in a northerly flow there. And I think a northerly wind's probably the best route to cold weather this early on in the season. And just as far as we can go there, Thursday, the 2nd of December, we're still in that northerly flow with high pressure maintained out in the Atlantic, a mid Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland. Very exciting stuff. Hey, I had to bring you this in video form. You can probably see my enthusiasm on my face. This is the North Atlantic Oscillation. And when it is positive as it is at the moment, it would suggest that the Azores high is likely to ridge in. It's predicted to go negative over the next few days and very substantially negative at the end of November. So, what that says to me is a southerly tracking jet stream. Low pressure is much more likely to be to the south of us as opposed to the north and west of us. Let me show you the Arctic Oscillation. It's doing something really interesting. Um, the Arctic Oscillation, when it's positive as it is just now, it's kind of weakly positive or neutral at the moment. What that means is low pressure is centered over the pole, so the polar vortex, if you like, driving low pressures in from the Atlantic. But look at how many members take that Arctic Oscillation extremely negative. So if we're going to get a beast from the east or something like that, this happens. This has got to happen. As I say, the only way to sustain cold weather in the UK, because often we're in a knife edge with cold weather, as you know, is to get the heights building to the north of us, either Greenland, preferably Greenland if you're a snow lover, or Scandinavia. We get a Scandi high going, and we're more likely to drag in some easterly winds with that. With the high pressure over Greenland, it's more likely to be north or northeasterlies. So certainly, to me, looks like we're going to have a hit of winter. It's going to feel quite seasonal, nothing too extreme to begin with, very mild for the next few days. Wet for Scotland, drier further south. The changeovers on Saturday and into Sunday. A cold front side south, but it's just a northerly airflow. There could be a little bit of frost. There could be some wintry showers around as well. Then it's quite quiet next week before we get another northerly plunge, possibly. There is a little note of caution with that. Okay, it's extended range stuff, but certainly the GFS output there suggested that we could get a number of northerlies, and also the ECMWF, the European model, is backing that up further and suggesting that we could have another northerly plunge later on next week, which could be much more substantial and chill things properly. So we're talking about possibly 2s and 3s for the north during the day, minus digits at night time, and possibly 5s and 6s in the south during the day. Now, this coming few days, we'll see the temperatures up to 14 or 15. So it might not be snowy, it might not be freezing, but we're going to feel it. Definitely dig out the winter clothes. And I'll give you a wee bit of advance warning if we need to dig our sledge out as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed the forecast. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Like it here on Facebook or on the YouTube. Hope to see you again soon. Hope you're having a lovely evening. Thanks for viewing. See you soon.